Hello, I'm Craig Ferryman. Welcome to QMTV's Meet the Candidates, where we're now joined by current University of London Union Vice President Viktoria Szmolar, who has also been a member of the Student Council, where she studied at Queen Mary in a BA in French and Politics, and joins me now. Welcome, Victoria.
Thank you.
Now, let's start with a fairly obvious question. What is the role of a students' union?
First of all, I think it's representation and providing services for students. There's quite a few remits that certain sabbatical officers take on. Personally, in terms of how I look after the students' union, includes student activities, kind of side of things, the welfare side of things. And also kind of new projects, the introduction of new projects such as volunteering or legal advice.
And what do you think makes a good ULU Vice President, and why do you think you're more qualified than any of the other candidates who are running?
I think it's very, very difficult to be in a position where you're looking after so many students. I mean, I hear loads of figures kind of flying around in the air, but roughly there's about 170,000 students that belong to University of London Union. So this is the biggest students' union. Sometimes this environment can get quite stressful in terms of you being pushed around to be able to kind of satisfy different needs. So I think handling that, managing that is something that you need to be able to do as a vice president. But also I think what I find myself to be doing this year, and I'm very proud of that, is doing a lot of research and trying to find out what students care about and what they're lacking at the moment. In terms of University of London, what's very important is obviously because we're a federation of university unions, we have a very kind of unique position within this environment. So the kind of services and activities that we offer tends to be quite unique or quite different
Sure.
to normal things.
Now, engagement with ULU is low. What is the institution doing wrong?
How do you define engagement being low, though?
Of those 120,000 students, which we would estimate that being as a figure, not all of them necessarily even know that ULU exists as a union for them to participate in, never mind where it is or what it does.
Yeah.
I mean, how do you get around that?
How do you define engagement being low, though?
Of those 120,000 students, which we would estimate that being as a figure, not all of them necessarily even know that ULU exists as a union for them to participate in, never mind where it is or what it does.
Yeah.
I mean, how do you get around that?
Well, we have loads of clubs and societies. We provide the kind of activities that we offer, they're either niche or representative. And also, I mean, ULU has been in the centre of activism in the past however many months, so I think the participation has definitely grown. I don't know, is it really answering your question?
Well, that's not for me to decide, I suppose, but I mean, the engagement is still year on year not as high as it could be at ULU, and I just wondered if you thought that there was something.
I mean, it's very difficult. I mean, for my months at ULU, we recognise new clubs and societies. Again, I'm just going to be talking about my remit, obviously. In terms of external campaigns and all that, that's absolutely not my kind of job to do as a vice president. So really, I'm just going to be talking about the student activity side of things, because I was trying to increase participation through the project that I created. We recognised 7 new clubs, societies and networks, and I established ULU's first volunteering centre along with the legal advice centre. So we're trying to focus on projects that not every student can benefit from at the local students' union, because that way those students will be drawn to ULU.
And do you feel like under your time you've actually been able to increase participation?
I would like to think so, yes.
Okay, now how would you improve society, sports and the facilities of ULU?
It's very difficult because obviously we do have a big building in central London, but at the same time our hands tend to be quite tight because, I don't know, in terms of the funding that we get, obviously it's ring-fenced. We do get told what we can spend this on. So, for example, we do have a lot of martial arts societies and clubs, and they are fighting for space, obviously because we do give out free room bookings for our club societies. So I believe that students can not always just benefit from the big things and the great things. Sometimes what really matters to them is just small things, for example, buying new mats or being able to provide, you know, an extra room per week so that they can train, so that when they go to the competition they can do better.
What would be the key internal campaigns that you would run?
I would like to take off the ground my new project, so volunteering, the Legal Advice Centre, and also I would very much would like to enhance students' employability prospects as well.
Okay, what qualities would you look for in a president to complement your work as a vice president?
Good question.
You're smiling already.
Qualities. I personally would like to work together with a president that is cooperative. That obviously there's only 2 sabbatical officers to look after so many students. We don't have a part-time officer structure, so there's really just the 2 of us. So I think it's so important to join forces in terms of, you know, what we do and, you know, how we do these things together and plan together.
Okay, I mean, without naming names, because it's against ULU election regulations, how do you think that you have done this year in your role?
Without naming names, what do you mean by that? Compare myself to others, you mean?
Yeah, without or bring any other names in.
Right.
If you wanted to do that, how do you think you have done this year in the role?
I am proud of the things I've achieved. I think I was put into a very difficult situation many times throughout the months that I've been at ULU. Most of the time I had to be working alone, and I had to kind of find resources from loads of random kind of pots in a way. And I believe that, I mean, given the circumstances, I think I did really well.
What sort of circumstances?
Wow. What sort of circumstances? I don't know if I want to even talk about this actually.
Do you feel you've been put under circumstances that have meant that your job this year has been difficult?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay, but you don't want to say what they are?
I don't know what I can say really.
I mean, had those circumstances, whatever they may be, and I'm going to make the presumption that their personnel circumstances been different this year, your job would have been even easier and you'd been able to do more. Is that what you're trying to say?
Yes, absolutely. I mean, what I was saying, I did feel most of the time that I was on my own. I was put into circumstances where I suddenly didn't know what to do. And just to give you kind of like a frame of like what I'm really just trying to talk about is it has got to do with obviously the demonstrations and all the campaigns on custom fees. So it's been rather difficult.
Okay, I've got to move on because time is ticking. Your manifesto talks a lot about what you have done and what you know you've done in the last year, but it doesn't really talk about what you will do. So why do you want another year?
Well, there's a reason why I didn't actually include my pledges, if you like. I mean, I did include my pledges, my other publicity material, but not my actual like manifesto or my poster. I thought originally that instead of trying to come up with a completely new set of pledges, I wanted to demonstrate to the students and the electorate that, you know, I've achieved a lot this year already. And these projects do need further kind of working on. So I definitely would like to improve on those, and I'd like to kind of make them, like solidify them basically. But in terms of my pledges, as I said, I do want to increase the the prospects of the employability for students.
Okay. And finally, I wanted to ask you about the anti-fees and anti-cuts campaign, which you claim to be at the forefront of, but from what I'm told, you attended the first demonstration, but then none thereafter. So,
I told you that.
our researchers.
Okay,
I've heard that. What other work have you been doing this year to advocate the movement? And I mean, do you deny that you've been on several demonstrations?
I have been to several
Okay.
demonstrations, absolutely. I mean, I've been holding the front what's the face banner, several times. And the thing is, I suppose people don't necessarily see the kind of background where these things need, the amount of planning and logistics that you have to come up with. I mean, from policies to planning the route to planning the flyers and everything, to inform everybody, to train the stewards. I mean, I've been stewarding on several of the demonstrations, so it's just, I mean, I do admit the majority of work has been done, kind of like behind the scenes, but I have been to several demonstrations as well.
But so, just to ask that again, what other work have you been doing to advocate the movement besides demonstrations?
But I work. Well, I have been in touch with other sabbatical officers, and I mean, my position is really to not. Personally speaking, I don't necessarily think that demonstrations are the only way to go when it comes to fighting cuts and fees. I have been trying to be fairly vocal within the student newspaper and kind of advocate my views. But I think it's very important to kind of look for other ways of how to kind of solve the situation and try to remain realistic and non-violent.
Okay. Viktoria Szmolar, thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you.